You're up next. So, what's the coffee that you're drinking today? Because you made us smile last show when you told us what your coffee was. So,
Well, today I am drinking a French coffee from a small town in Bentonville, Arkansas, yet again. So this is a French vanilla Walmart brand. It's delicious. So I'm sucking those things down. So we did this a couple weeks ago, and since then we've been pretty busy around the house. Springtime, getting the yard fixed up, laying sod, chicken coops, redoing all that. So Emily and I have been pretty busy. And we didn't take a lot of time to just step back and really admire what we had done. I mean, not sitting there and gloating in our handiwork, but just going, wow, perspective. And one of my devotionals this week basically was telling us to stop, slow down, and take the time to just look around you, be grateful for everything that you have. And when I stop and do that, I'm like, wow, I'm really lucky. I'm fortunate enough to be able to own a home and to have, 4 beautiful kids and to be able to live my life and enjoy what I have. And one of the verses that was attached to the devotional was Psalm 19:1 that says, "The heavens tell the glory of God, and their expanse declares the work of his hands." And something clicked in my head. I was like, oh. So when I took an astronomy class at Liberty, and Liberty's a Christian college, so they're allowed to teach, creationism and whatnot. And that was the favorite verse of my professor. And it got me thinking about if I was to stop from all the busy stuff that's been going on in my life and just go outside, sit there in a little bit of silence and look up at the sky, you can really start to get some perspective on how much awesome stuff and things God has made for us. So if you guys will permit me, I'm going to do a little demonstration that my professor showed us to help bring a little something into perspective.
Sure.
All right. So let's say that this baseball represents the sun. All right, so this is the sun. I have little kids, so here's some sprinkles. If I was to take one of these little sprinkles, put it on my fingertip, and you probably can't see that. That's the earth. That's the sun. You could put 1.3 million earths inside of the sun. That's massive. Now, if you were to take this ball and it represents the sun, and Simon, I give you another baseball and it represents the next closest star to Earth, I would put this on the east coast of the United States. You would go to the west coast of the United States, and that's the distance between the sun and the next star. We can't look up at the sky and fathom what God has created. And when you go outside and you sit there and you look up at the sky and you realize, wow, he made this and he's allowing us to get to enjoy it. It really just brings a lot of perspective to your day and to your life. I'm blown away every time I go out there and go, man, God made this for me, and I'm allowed to look at it. And if you know me, you know I've got a lot of musicians that I admire and a lot of historical figures that I would love to go back in time and talk to. But every day I get to talk to the God that created all of this. Every day. And it's just, when you're struggling through life, when you've got a lot of things going on in your life and you're not, feeling if, whether you feel like you're worth it or not, or whether anything you do has meaning, just sit outside, turn off everything around you and just look up and just take it in. It's amazing. It's all inspiring.
It's awesome. I see Angela smiling. So do you want to go first, Angela, with what that impact was?
Oh, I'm so touched because it's very personal. Just being reminded and talking openly about our interaction with God, our creator, that, the sun is just the sun, and this, is just sitting there being the sun, where we actually get to interact. And he's an interactive God. He's not silent. And so the fact that we get to engage with him and allow him to have his imprint in our life is just very moving. So and I loved the demonstration. That was great. I remember when I was taking class, just learning about the distance, it takes millions of years for us to see the light. And that was just oh my goodness. That was that light I'm seeing was just a reflection from and whether it was millions or not, I don't mean to say time, because that's not necessarily relative. I don't necessarily know what. Anyways, I don't mean to bring the timeline into it, but it was a great distance, between everything, and so.
Nice, thanks.
Well, great job, Professor Bobby. And that, I have, I love the analogies that you use there, and once again, obviously a professor from, which is now Liberty University, right, has made a huge impact on you. But I'm a big fisherman myself, and when I'm on the water, it's just amazing to me, all that I'm in, the scenery that I have around me, of knowing the hand of God. I mean, how can you not believe there's not a God in this? There's a God in this universe. I mean, how can people believe and think there's not a God? Look around you, as you said. Look up in the sky. I mean, it's amazing. And to realize how blessed we are. My wife, matter of fact, this week in my business, it was down a little bit. And, I was just like, man, we're down. And my wife's like, we're so blessed and everything that we have. We forget to acknowledge that. And that's straight from God. And, just walking outside, like y'all talking about, maybe being able to go to the mountains, go to the beach or anything. What a blessing to be able to see God's marvel and the hand he has in everything that we do. So thank you for, that demonstration. I'm going to steal that, by the way.
That's better than Schoolhouse Rock on a Saturday morning, my friends. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier, perspective. In our daily lives, we tend to, be focusing on so many other things, whether it's work or stress with the kids or stress with, bills or, whatever it is that we're facing in our day-to-day lives, but just to take a step back and look at the big picture, and get some of God's perspective on, this is for you, and just to continue to maintain that perspective within our lives, the biblical perspective of, what it means to be his children and to, live in a world that he made for us. It's a gift. Every day is a gift. It truly is. And to sit back, like Bobby said, you did all the work with your chicken coop and, straightening up the yard and everything that we work every day to do in our day-to-day lives, but just to take a step back and truly know how blessed we are to live in the world that we live in and to have the blessings that we have. It's awe-inspiring, and it is a gift, and it truly is humbling. Sorry.
No. In fact, what I love about that is what happens here is we remind each other of things that might have happened to us during the week based on your devotional or your inspiration. And so you talked about the sun and you put the baseball, and as you were doing that in the screen, I just remembered last Sunday, I don't know if you saw that beautiful full moon we all had outside. So we have a telescope at our house. Mm-hmm. And when we finally figured out that the best way for us to see it was not outside, but to put it in our living room and try to shoot it through this picture window, you spend this time trying to get the moon in the shot. And then you get it in your telescope and you could see it. And then you look at it and you see the craters. Like, wow, this is so far away. I couldn't make it. Nobody on Earth made that moon. So somebody else had to make that moon, right? And you then realize what a blessing this is. But then what happened is if you didn't pay attention, 5 minutes later, guess what you have to do? You have to readjust the shot because the moon has moved. And what I took away, Bobby, as you were talking was that God's made these blessings for us. We have to continue to follow them on his time and keep readjusting and moving that, or else we end up just like getting stuck. And next thing you know, you look in the lens and there's nothing there. So thank you for reminding us just to take the time to follow his plan and not our own, my friend. That was awesome. So thank you.
Yeah, you just gave us chills.
Yeah, Simon, you guys just wrapped that up into a beautiful little package. Oh my goodness. Because you're right. His blessings do move and they're constant. They don't, it's just like the rotation. It doesn't stop. It doesn't end. We can rely on it. We can depend on it. Like we can put our faith and hope, and trust in God,
As long as we're open
Yeah.
to receiving that blessing. That's the
Yeah.
thing. We have to have our perspective open to recognize it for what it is and to, as you said, follow it
Mhm.
and continue to follow it.
You have to look for it. So
And you have to look for it.
so thank you, Bobby, for our Jesus bumps this morning. We appreciate that.
I'm never going to look at a baseball the same way again.
Yeah, that was really great. I love that. That's so cool. So thank you for bringing visuals and to our show this morning. So
Maybe I'll bring crayons and paper next time.
but
please
thank you.
do.